UN News.
So another story that you might not have heard before, but you heard it here. So this is another story you brought to me from friend to the show, Brett Wilkins, who reported on this a few days ago, where he reports that U.S. Navy SEALs slaughtered civilians during a botched 2019 North Korea mission. Collin, Reef, what are you talking about? Well, Brett so graciously reported, U.S. Navy SEALs shot dead a number of civilians during a botched secret mission to plant a listening device inside North Korea during tense nuclear negotiations between the first Trump administration and the government of Kim Jong-un in 2019, the New York Times reported Friday. David Phillips and Matthew Cole reported for the Times that President Donald Trump personally approved the covert mission, which was to seal Team 6's Red Squadron, the same unit that assassinated Osama bin Laden. Although the elite sailors rehearsed the nighttime mission for months, things fell apart when a small fishing boat appeared out in the dark in what the SEALs thought was a deserted area. David Phillips and Matthew Cole reported for the Times that President Donald Trump... flashlights from the boat swept it over the water. I think you...
I might have done that.
Twice.
Yeah.
So, flashlights from the boat swept over the water. Fearing that they might have been spotted, the SEALs opened fire, wrote Phillips and Cole. Within seconds, everyone on the North Korean boat was dead. The SEALs retreated into the sea without planting the listening device. Officials familiar with the mission told the Times that the SEALs then pulled 2 or 3 bodies from the boat, punctured the victims' lungs with knives so the bodies would sink, and threw the dead fishers into the sea. So excessive?
Yep.
Much? So you pulled this tweet from Daniel Malmer, who said, "It didn't leave them dead. Navy SEALs slaughtered 3 innocent people."
Yep.
According to the Times, the 2019 operation has never been publicly acknowledged or even hinted at by the United States or Korea. Yeah, both countries have their reasons. The details remain classified and are being reported for the first time. The Trump administration did not notify key members of Congress who oversees intelligence operations before or after the mission. The lack of notification may have violated the law. I would guess it would, but who follows the law in this country? The aborted SEAL mission prompted a series of military reviews during Mr. Trump's first term. They found that the killing of civilians was justified under the rules of engagement and that the mission was underdone by a collision of unfortunate occurrences that could have not been foreseen or avoided. The findings were classified. It is not known whether or how much North Korea's government knew about the mission. While Trump's erstwhile untried tactic of direct negotiations with Kim averted escalation of the 2018-19 standoff, the high-profile summits between the two leaders yielded no substantial progress towards denuclearization or peace treaty. The U.S. and North Korea are technically still at war. Between 1950 and 1953, U.S. forces killed an estimated 20% of all North Koreans, around 1.9 million men, women, and children, according to General Curtis Bombs-Away LeMay, who served as a strategic air commander during the war after overseeing World War II firebombing raids on Japanese cities that killed hundreds of thousands of civilians.
So
you were...
Yeah, I brought this.
You want to read this? Go ahead.
I got you. So this is from Zay Squirrel, right? So she found this story as well. And she writes, "It has just been reported as an oh my god breaking story in the New York Times that the U.S. sent Navy SEAL Team 6 into North Korea in 2019 and massacred civilians on a mission to supposedly plant a listening device, which of course a lie, as the real mission will not be disclosed for decades, if ever. The New York Times also, of course, laundered this all with typical propaganda, framing it as being just an accident. They also say it was 2 or 3 civilians they massacred, which means it was at least a dozen, likely over 20 or more they mass murdered, including women and children. Then they say they went to the bodies of the children, women, and men they massacred and punctured their lungs with knives and threw their bodies into the sea and made sure they sunk so that no one would ever find them. Oh, they just accidentally mass murdered civilians and then disappeared their bodies so their loved ones would never know what happened to their children, siblings, mothers, and fathers. They didn't mean to. We never mean to. It's always an accident for us and our Zionist Israeli masters whenever we mass murder and rape all over the world. This is the tip.
Again, political violence is okay.
Yep. It's fine.
When our leaders do it.
Yep. This is the tip of the iceberg of what the Israeli US NATO empire does all over the world all the time, constantly, and we never even know about it. They mass murder, rape, torture, behead, throw babies down wells, smash their heads against rocks, puncture their lungs, disappear their bodies in the ocean or in acid. They do it constantly everywhere. In Iran, Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Afghanistan, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, Russia, and China. They do it everywhere they please with full impunity. Only when you have the ability to defend yourself and your sovereignty will you be able to at least force them to minimize their genocidal, terrorist, sadistic depravity for fear of retaliation. This is the lesson of the rules-based international order. The propaganda rhetoric used laundered the Zionist Israeli US NATO empire, also known as the Fourth Reich. Always remember Nasrallah's words, "What is happening in Gaza proves international law cannot protect you." Memorize this. Some say, give up your weapons, rely on the UN. If you are weak, the world will not acknowledge you, protect you, or even cry for you. What protects you is your weapons, your power. So, the U.S. empire's genocidal war on Korea killed millions. Their firebombing of cities caused much greater destruction than of the German and Japanese during World War II. Then they built their largest military base in their southern fascist colonial proxy. Their obsessive project was always to utterly destroy the liberated DPRK and bring it back under U.S. hegemony by any means necessary. But they were unable to, even before they acquired nuclear weapons in 2006. Why? Because they feared them. They saw them as extreme, irrational, crazed even. If we dare launch an attack on them, they will destroy the entire South. We will wipe out the entire South with their artillery and missiles without even blinking. Just a single attack on the North, and it's over. So they never dared launch a war against them before they were nuclearized. And then, when they did nuclearize in 2006, it was over. The project of collapsing the Korean state and destroying its people through a genocidal war was over. They still have their military base, but it is impotent. The DPRK has total and complete deterrence. Every country on earth that liberates itself from the Israeli-US NATO empire clutches must learn this essential lesson. Thoughts so far before we get to the video?
I mean,
Yep.
the empire at work.
Yep. So this is Bruce Cummins, who's going to explain some stuff to y'all peeps. We're going to do some history real quick. So, eyes up, class.
When you look at the firebombing of Tokyo and of Dresden and Hamburg, they have these statistics. How much of the city was destroyed? And it's usually on the range of 35, 40, 45%, sometimes over 50%. But the very same people do the same incendiary bombing over North Korea, where North Korea was not like North Vietnam. It had industrial cities, about 14 of them, plus the capital at Pyongyang. So it was already significantly urbanized. And the same people do the same surveys, and I have the chart in a table in my book. Xinhuiju on the Chinese border, 95% destroyed. Pyongyang, 85%. Hamhung, an industrial city, 80%. They actually destroyed North Korean cities to a greater degree than the bombing of Japanese and German cities. And yet there's just a terribly disproportionate aspect of this, because the Germans were capable of mounting a defense, and they had V-2 rockets clanging into London and so on, and you took your life in your hands when you went on a bombing run over Germany. The Japanese didn't have much good anti-aircraft, but they had a very formidable army. And here you have North Korea, which was essentially a developing country with some industrial cities, and we level it more than we did Japan or Germany, and they're defenseless. So they're underground. They have schools, factories, hospitals underground. The North Koreans at the recent party meeting said something about 1997-98 being a year of terrible sacrifice. That was a reference to the famine. But they likened it to 1951, which was really when, by the end of 1951, there weren't many bombing targets left in North Korea. So that was the worst year of that, and it was extremely hard for them.
In case you were wondering what violence looks like. But, yep. I mean, I like how this is already not in the news cycle. It had its moment, and then it was gone. And it's gone. So, among many stories. So I have this, right, from @PlanetsDying. The U.S. SEALs' response to being discovered by civilians is such a contrast to DPRK commandos. The SEALs murdered and hid the civilians. When DPRK commandos were spotted by South Korean civilians during the Blue House raid, they explained to them how communism would liberate them. So, no punctured lungs from them. But, yeah. Thoughts, Care Bear? Do you hear about this anywhere else?
No. Other than what you brought,
Yeah.
we've interviewed Brett, no, I haven't heard of this story before. Well, who would have?
Right.
And I don't read the New York Times, so there would have been no way I would have looked at this anyway.
Yep.
But
on page 9,
but again,
past
this
the
is just
fold.
the example. Right. But again, this is the example of the empire at work, and when they want something, and instead of being accountable to and again, it's like, why are you trying to place a spying device in North Korea? Like, what's the deal with that? Like, are you trying to purposely spy on Kim Jong-un in terms of whatever issues that he's doing? So, like, what gives with that? Like, what are we trying to get from North Korea that was worth this mission? And then having to kill several people when it got botched for whatever reason.
Right.
So I'm surprised no one is not talking about the reason why. I mean, it's so easy to talk about Israel given the surveillance that they basically give to us, but we are just as culpable, if not worse, in terms of the surveillance that we do, in foreign nations for our own benefit. So I honestly, now that I'm saying that, I wouldn't be surprised if it's now, given what you've reported, especially on Israel, that if Israel did not lend them the means to have this happen, who knows?
Yeah.
But no, just again, kind of similar to my story with Kenya, the empire does whatever they want without any repercussions, and then in this case, they literally destroy the evidence to the detriment of families who to this day may never know where their family members are, or may not even get them the proper funerals because their bodies are just so gone in the ocean.
Right.
So any concern or thoughts for those people who who will not see their families members ever again, even passed on, like, no. So, but we want to shame people for like, for not giving, being like, we have to care about the life and the sovereignty of this nation and all people, like total bullshit. Like, yeah, it's just the idea of being consistent and somewhat not hypocritical for a change is what really gets, with this story.
Yep. I'm with you. Well, talking about stories like that is why YouTube decides we shouldn't have monetization. So if you want to get around that system and monetarily support us anyway, you can scan that QR code on your screen or go to kodashv.com/Indie News Network and leave us a couple of dollary dues. If you can't do that because you're one of the poors like ourselves, you can share the video. That would be extremely appreciated. And leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Otherwise, thanks for watching.